Everyone, welcome. This is Saskatchewan Links to Learning webinar with Can Do. Some of you may be joining us who are not from Saskatchewan. That's cool too. So wherever you are from, we welcome you and we're honored that you are here. Tanse, Michelle Nevadomi, Nitsigasan, Edmonton, Miskwichi Waskayagan. Oche. So I live in Edmonton, Treaty 6 territory, but my roots are in Saskatchewan. I'm a prairie girl, love that province. So I'm always excited when we have the Saskatchewan webinar. So today we're gonna learn, oh yeah, and there's the flag going, there's the colors. So we're excited today. We have a really great presentation this afternoon with Futurepreneurs. We got 3 representatives who are full of fire, passion, wisdom, knowledge. They're going to share some of their resource that they offer, but they're also going to share some stories. I love hearing the stories of young entrepreneurs who are finding their way, making their way in this world and lending their gifts and talent and vision to the greater community, to, the cities, the nations, wherever they are living. And so it's really exciting to have you join us. We have Joanne on, we have Justin, we have Noah in the house. I'm going to introduce my lovely co-MC, Aubrey, and she's just going to say a welcome and give an introduction to some of our guests.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. I always love hearing Michelle talk. This is the first one coming back from when we had a few weeks off. And I gotta say, Michelle, if I don't have energy a minute after talking to you, I get it. So it's always nice working with you every year. I'm so excited to be here today. If some of you don't know me, my full name is Aubrey Ann the Liberty Puelpesconius. I am from Canoe Lake Cree First Nation on Treaty 10 territory. But I'm coming to you right now from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan on Treaty 6 territory. So I'm definitely happy to be here. I am the Can Do student director, so I sit on the board with them. Definitely always a great time. And so I'm definitely excited to be here today with Futurepreneur. Because I am still a student. And so I competed in a youth idea challenge a few years ago, and Futurepreneur was actually one of the people who helped coach me through that process. Even though I couldn't compete at the end of the day, I walked away from that experience knowing how to pitch a business, knowing what to put in my business plan. And it just encouraged me to do more in the future and maybe be an entrepreneur like Michelle. So we'll see where that goes one day. But the title of today's session is supporting young entrepreneurs a key pillar in your Indigenous economic development strategy? If it is, let's talk. And if it's not, let's get it going, because there's so much that can happen with it. And so Futurepreneur's sole purpose is to support young entrepreneurs around 18 to 39 years old in Canada to launch successful businesses. And so that's their mission. And they do different support through one-on-one coaching, training, financing, and mentorship. And they also do whatever they can to connect with young entrepreneurs with different support systems, which is so amazing. I remember doing that. I had a whole phone call with somebody even, and they were telling me everything, things that I didn't even think of. I was a second-year business student, and I was like, all this stuff was going over my head, and Futurepreneur explained it in a way that I was like, wow, I could start a business right now if I wanted to. And it was amazing. So I'm so excited to have them talking today. I'm going to learn so much, and we're all going to do this in a great way and get those youth involved in everything that we do. And so first, I'm going to introduce a couple of our speakers, and I'll pass it off to Michelle to also introduce one. So first here we have Joanne Norris. And so she has a background in international development, impact investing, and small business development, and extensive experience as a gender and impact measurement expert in Canada. So much different knowledge and experience that she brings with her today that we're going to be excited to hear about. And she had joined Futurepreneur's team in 2014, which is amazing. So she comes with a lot of it. And her role was initially to explore opportunities to support more rural, remote, and Indigenous young entrepreneurs in Northern BC. So that's so amazing. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. And we also have here with us Justin Holness. And so he was born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You see him put his hand up there. His heritage is a blend of Jamaican and Nakota First Nation roots. And so he's based in Ottawa, serving young Indigenous entrepreneurs across Ontario, and believes that entrepreneurship is the way we can build new economic opportunities for Indigenous people, communities, and future generations. So he's an award-winning entrepreneur himself, receiving the 2018 CBC Trailblazer Award for Tribe Music. Like I said, this is my first webinar in a while, so excuse me, but as you can see, these two here plus Noah, we're getting to you, don't worry, but our speakers are amazing. They have so much to talk about, and I don't want to take away from that, so I'll pass it off to Michelle to introduce our third speaker, and then we'll let them going and get our brains moving.
Yeah, thanks, Aubrey. All right, so Noah Wilson is a Cree man who comes from Peguis First Nation. He currently lives in Winnipeg, Manitoba. As a result of living in several cities throughout his youth and making annual visits to his reserve, Noah was able to see a diverse cross-section of Canadian society that highlighted the stark discrepancies in the standard of living between First Nations peoples and the rest of Canada. These experiences grew his passion to someday help his Indigenous community and the resurgence of our Indigenous nations. Woo, woo. So Noah is recently graduated with distinction from the University of Manitoba in 2019 with an advanced bachelor's degree in Indigenous governance and a minor in management, which only continued to grow his passion for Indigenous markets and business, economics, and self-governance. Noah recently left RBC as a finance professional working as a banking advisor and most recently a business account manager to pursue his passions through his new role at Futurpreneur as a business development manager for Indigenous young entrepreneurs. He was also recently appointed by the Chief and Council of Peguis First Nation to the Board of Director of Chief Peguis Investment Corporation. Noah's he's a devoted advocate for the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action in Canada, which is so integral and so important. And also the establishment of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So we are in good hands this afternoon, everyone. So we welcome you to, our first webinar back in 2021, back in the new year. A couple of things. There will be an opportunity for you to ask any questions or have any comments or any dialogue at the end. But in the event you feel like you have a burning question, feel free to use that chat box. At the end of today's webinar, there's going to be a link sent to you to fill out an evaluation. And if you fill out that evaluation, check this out. There are 2 $400 gift cards, Visa gift cards up for grabs. So your name will be entered into a draw if you fill out that evaluation, and you could win a $400 gift card. Now, wouldn't that be sweet? So your voice, your feedback is so important. So please fill out that evaluation. All right, so let's get on with the show this afternoon. So we welcome you, Joanne, Justin, Noah. I'm going to pass it off to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. Was I given co-hosting capability so I can share my screen, or was Justin or Noah?
Joanne, you are.
I am. Awesome. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. Super excited to be here. I am sharing my screen now. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Awesome. Wasn't so slow to the mark this time. Okay. From the beginning, let's do that. Okay, so Futurepreneur Canada. So I'm going to talk to you, obviously, about the specific work we're doing to support young Indigenous entrepreneurs and how we're working with other Indigenous organizations to do this and what we're up to with that. And just a little bit on the agenda. I'm sure many or all of you are aware of the kind of very exciting time we're in, but just in case you may not be, and just to give you a few sort of markers in terms of where Indigenous entrepreneurship is at right now in Canada, it's a pretty exciting time. So just want to reference that in terms of putting our work in context of the larger landscape, the broader landscape of economic development and entrepreneurship as a whole. And then talk a little bit about Futurepreneur Canada, for some of you who may not be familiar with us at all, in terms of how we offer our programming nationally and regionally and locally, in terms of our organizational model. And then why do we have an Indigenous young team specifically to work and serve with Indigenous young entrepreneurs, how that came to be, our particular programming, and then always the best time talking about entrepreneurs that we've supported in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, BC, nationally. We'll give you a little, some examples of entrepreneurs there. And I'd love the opportunity to talk with you about where you're from, what your communities are interested in doing in terms of supporting young entrepreneurs, where you might be on in that journey. And that will be our presentation. So just to give a few markers, as I said, about the very upward trajectory we are on in terms of Indigenous entrepreneurship right now. Definitely, we all know that Indigenous peoples have been entrepreneurs for hundreds and hundreds of years, setting up trading networks, setting up ways to exchange goods and services. But I would say in the last 20 years, there's been some more of a focus on doing some specific research on Indigenous entrepreneurship. So for example, from 1996 to 2006, there's an 85% increase of business owners in the Indigenous community. Another survey done by the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business, which is a good place to go for data and for research, as well as others, but they're one really good source. They did a survey and it had increased since 2006, another from 37,000 to 43,000. So again, increasing. Also important to note that entrepreneurship and self-employment is a really growing career option for Indigenous women and men, but the growth rates amongst Indigenous women across Turtle Island are significant, and there are specific Indigenous women supports out there. So, and we're connected to some of them. So please ask us about that. And for those of you who aren't aware of the initiative and the organization, the Indigenomics Institute and the Indigenomics hashtag that Carol Ann Hilton, who hails from Vancouver Island, initiated a few years ago. Really exciting stuff in terms of what's happening in economic development and entrepreneurship, and the leaders and the inspiration happening there. So it is an exciting time. So Futurepreneur, we are actually celebrating our 25th year this year, which is pretty exciting. We're a national nonprofit, and as was said earlier, we really only focus on the 18 to 39 demographic and helping them launch successful businesses. So very much our sandbox is in pre-launch and very early stage in terms of the business stage, and the younger demographic, 18 to 39. And we obviously can't do this alone. Futurepreneur is we're not a bank. We don't have hundreds and hundreds of employees. We have about 85-ish employees across the country. Our head office is in Toronto. We have a regional office here in Vancouver and another regional office in Quebec. And then we have people, teams across the country. We don't have a staff person in every territory and province, but almost, and we do serve both northern, southern, and all that's in between in terms of regional and geographic scope. We work with partners. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what our AFI partners and the partners we collaborate with that are Indigenous lending organizations. They're called Aboriginal financial institutions. We have collaborators in Saskatchewan, the Saskatchewan Indian Equity Fund, as well as Clarence Campo Development Fund. These are organizations that we work with to provide our programming, as much of our programming and their programming, to give the best offering to young entrepreneurs launching businesses. And just a note here too, on my note about the Indigenous women and entrepreneurship and the trends happening there. Almost half of our portfolio are businesses owned by women. And so we definitely serve and work with women business owners, entrepreneurs as well. And in terms of specifically what we offer, as I said, we do focus on the early stage and at the beginning, instead of, say, when people are expanding their businesses. So I'll talk about the pre-launch assistance we provide, the one-on-one coaching support. So for example, Noah, Wilson, and Justin Holness, who are my team members on the call today, they are the first line. When people sign into our website, create an account, which is all free. If they're based in Ontario or in the Atlantic regions, they would be connected to Justin. If you're based in Manitoba or Saskatchewan, you would be connected to Noah. So these are, and then from there, they would provide that one-on-one support based on where you're at with your idea, how far along, and help guide you through our resources, as well as referring you to our community partners for how they may be able to support training. We put on our own very practical short-term training. We're not like a university or a college or a training institute that would put on longer, possibly multi-month, intensive training. We do short, targeted, very practical training. Justin will talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation, as we have some training sessions coming up for the Atlantic region. And then our core startup program, which is startup financing, and Justin will talk a little bit more about the terms of our financing, but the every loan we do, which will be between $5,000 and $60,000, we match that entrepreneur with a mentor for 2 years. So that's our core program. And then here again, NACA, which is the National Aboriginal Capital Corporation Association, we have a partnership with them, and then their member Aboriginal financial institutions that do lending to Indigenous entrepreneurs and Indigenous communities as well. We work with them. And so just to give you a little bit of more specificity in terms of some of the work we're doing with NACA and with our AFI partners is we are doing a role model campaign with young entrepreneurs who've been financed from the AFIs and Futurpreneur to showcase their success, their story, to help encourage and motivate others. To take those ideas that are rambling around in their heads and do something with that. We all know that it's really important to see yourself in what you want to become. And so we want to help contribute to that through this role model campaign. We also established an Indigenous Youth Business Advisory Council for our partnership to be a sounding board for us on the work that we're doing. To get their advice. They're all young entrepreneurs themselves that have been supported by the AFIs or by Futurpreneur. And so that's another opportunity or another area that we're working with NACA. And then we're also, one of our tools, we have a business plan writer. We have the link in the presentation. We are upgrading it to be more reflective of Indigenous business owners. And in terms of the businesses, the case examples in the tool, as well as how to use the tool, having some educational videos embedded with one of our council members talking about how she did her business planning, how she put together her business plan. Because as you may very well know, if anyone is looking for external capital of any kind, whether it's a loan or an equity partner, you're going to need to have a decent business plan that you can speak to, understand, communicate about what your vision is and how your business is viable from a revenue generation point of view. So that's a big part of where we help young people. So this is the team. We have 3 of us on the call today. Just a little background on, we're a new team. We were just, I would say Justin hasn't been with us for quite a year yet. Noah was just come on with us this week. And Sami, who serves at the BC and Alberta, she's been with us almost a year. So we are a new team, a new and mighty team. And for me, what was really important as a leading value was that this team be Indigenous. We want to, I'm not an Indigenous person. I'm a 3rd generation settler from Vancouver. I've worked with Indigenous entrepreneurs for a long time, both as part of Futurepreneur and in other roles that I've had in my career. But I knew I would be able to find some fabulous Indigenous people to join the team who had the passion and interest and background for this work. And I'm pleased to say that I have. And so we're here to help. So please do reach out to us and we can help the entrepreneurs that are in your community, or if you're entrepreneurs yourself, work through your idea. So these are just some of the links to our resources. So all of our non-financial resources are open to all and all ages, and at all stages of the business startup journey. Specifically for Indigenous entrepreneurs, we do have this part of our website is dedicated to the work we do with Indigenous entrepreneurs and our partnerships. So we have our AFI partner logos and links there. We have the team information. We do blogs on the entrepreneurs that we support to help communicate their story, and we share those out on social media. We have, this is the tool that I was talking about that we're adapting to make it more reflective of Indigenous business, our business plan writer tool. Currently, it's a downloadable tool from our website. You can sign up to access the tool, to use it. A lot of colleges and university students do it. A lot of our partners use it. A lot of entrepreneurship training programs use the tool. We also have a really good cash flow template tool, which again is a really good tool to use. Certainly for our program, we do require a 2-year cash flow forecast as part of your application, as do most lenders that would be a basic requirement as well. Some require a 3-year cash flow forecast. And then we're just going to be launching, starting next week, our first series of our My Indigenous Startup Training Workshop in partnership with Ulnaweg, which is the AFI that serves the Atlantic region. And then we have a Facebook community. We have Futurepreneur Indigenous Facebook community group. I encourage you, if you're EDOs or entrepreneurs, or if you know anybody, to join it. We post a lot of information about what's going on across the country in terms of training, gathering, networking events, what we're doing, what our partners are doing. And then lastly, the EIR webinars. What that means, we have 3 entrepreneurs in residence across Canada. One works out of the BC office, one in the Toronto office, and one in the Quebec office in Montreal. And they are additional coaching support for entrepreneurs who really need more detailed focused support around certain sections of their business plan or understanding their numbers before they apply so that they can really have a good application. That's another support we provide. And whoops. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Justin, to talk a little bit about more specifics of our startup program.
Sounds good. I appreciate that. I think I'd like to, before I dive in, just premise with a little bit of my intentions as to why I'm here. To make a long story short, I grew up in Winnipeg, born and raised, and my parents split at a young age, and so I moved out, and I got myself in a whole lot of trouble. But it was when I hit rock bottom, when I hit my lowest point in trying to find myself, it was culture and music that helped pick me up. And as a young person, trying to find his way, I wanted to try and grow my music career professionally. And so as I've, taken the time to really develop my music career, it has since then evolved into this Tribe Music platform, which is the first Afro-Indigenous owned music streaming platform. We're just adding podcasts to the catalog. We're going to be opening up to other artists as well. But I'm saying that I never had anybody in my circle to really help me build my business. And long story short, I remember, me living in the Algonquin territory, living here in Ottawa. I remember one time I came across Futurpreneur just looking for resources to help me grow. And as soon as I logged in and reached out, boom, I got a phone call from a BDM. And I thought that was so cool. I got a phone call and they were just chatting with me about my business, where I'm at, where I want to go, how to take those next steps. And I never had that support in my life. And so for me to be working here at Futurpreneur, my main passion is to mobilize these resources that we have available and make them easily accessible for you, for Indigenous entrepreneurs. So our program is catered to anybody between the ages of 18 and 39. The beautiful thing about Futurpreneur is that we obviously serve all walks of life, all colors and creeds. So whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, we do help support young entrepreneurs to help them start a business. So if you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, we do support that. If you're a student, all of these things, if you fit within those demographics, we can help support you. And so I think that's really exciting. And now that for myself, for me to be a business development manager, I'm more than excited to work with you to help you get started. One of the other programs we have available is our side hustle program. If you wanted to go to the next slide, it's cool.
I didn't know I did that by accident.
Oh, okay. No problem.
I was trying to just get off my video, that's all.
Oh, no problem at all. I guess one of the things I should highlight in the eligibility is in order to receive up to $60,000 from Futurpreneur Canada, you do have to be in a position where you're ready to operate your business full time. So what does that look like? Full time doesn't necessarily look like I'm doing this every day, all day, and this is my main thing. What full time to us means is that you're able to generate an income off of your business. So an income is really important. And these are the things, by the way, all of these eligibility requirements, when you're at that stage where you're ready to start a business, part of our role is to kind of help determine where you're at and how we can help you get to the next level. So that's what we mean by starting up within 12 months or less than 12 months. If you've been starting a business and you're generating a full-time income for more than 12 months, you don't necessarily meet our eligibility requirements. But if you're less than 12 months and you've been able to generate a little bit of revenue and you're looking for some extra capital to get you started to grow or scale, we are the place to be. And so that is what we mean by starting up within 12 months. We want to help you make a full-time career doing what you love and loving what you do. Next slide.
And then the mentor match, just
right, mentor match is probably one of the most important things. So I apologize for not seeing that, but the mentor is one of our most unique traits here at Futurpreneur. So what that means is Once you've been dispersed, so once you've received financing from Futurpreneur, we team you up with a mentor. That mentor is determined based on what criteria you're hoping to get, what type of support you might need, and we're going to do our best to match you with that individual. And they're going to be able to support you once you've been dispersed for 2 years after the fact. So not only are we able to help you with financing and get you some capital, but we're not just going to leave you high and dry and hope that you make it. We're going to make sure that we continue to support you along your entrepreneur journey.
All right.
So our startup program is for anybody who is working full-time and needs that job, because we get it. You need to pay your bills. You need to make sure you have a roof above your head. And so if you have a full-time job, but you have this passion project that you've been dreaming of getting started, we have a program that can help you subsidize your income and actually use it as a source of revenue to help you contribute to your business. So our side hustle program provides up to $15,000 in income, in capital. It is a character-based loan. So what that means is that it's not based on assets. It's actually based on your credit score. Your credit score, if you don't know what that is, I would highly encourage you to check that out. Go to Equifax, go to TransUnion. Those are the 2 places within Canada that give you a direct credit score. Know your credit score the same way you should do a dental check. The same way you should check out if you got cavities or if you have good mouth hygiene, you should also be checking out if you have a good credit score and if your transaction history is healthy. That is so important. That is one of the things that I think we can emphasize in regards to one of the barriers that we come across as Indigenous entrepreneurs, is these are things we may not know about. So this is an opportunity where you might hear us talking about that right now. Take that as an opportunity to write that down, go check your credit score and know what your credit score is, because that's going to help you determine what type of financial resources a financial institution can offer you, or a program like Futurpreneur can offer you determining based off your credit score. So the side hustle program is available for you, and it also is associated to a mentor up to 2 years. Our interest rates are very competitive. They're prime, the prime rate plus 3.75, and it's a 3-year repayment schedule. For the side hustle program, your business plan does not have to be as robust as your full-time business startup program. So there is a little bit of flexibility there when it comes to the side hustle program specifically. So definitely consider that. If you have a passion, I strongly encourage you. This is totally off the cuff, and I hope that Joanne doesn't, give me a hard time for it later. But what I really want to emphasize here, as Indigenous people, the system is designed to keep us in the bottom line. And that bottom line, they do not want to increase and make it better for us. It's not about a living wage or a living salary. It's about minimum wage. So they're going to try to keep that as low as possible. So what I encourage us as Indigenous people, without diving too deep into the historical and colonial context of this country, we need to make more money. We need to subsidize our income, find multiple resources. And one of the ways that we can do that is by starting a business. Do something that you're passionate about. And so if you have a project that you've been thinking about starting, connect with us and let's see if it's viable. Let's see if we can get you some capital. Let's see if we can double up your income so you can increase your standard of living. I'm seriously passionate about that. And in my bio, that is one of my most passionate things that I want to accomplish, is help our Indigenous people achieve self-determination via entrepreneurship. That's one way we can do it. So these programs are accessible for you. We help you out. So this slide talking about business plans and cash flows is to help you. My job is to help you increase your viability, take your business idea, get it into a business plan. And by the way, business plans, if you go through a consultant, it's going to cost you $5,000 or more depending. So if you're looking for a loan from us, that business plan support, we give it to you for free. You work with me, you might work with Noah, you might work with Sami, one of the BDMs on the Indigenous team, but we really want to increase your viability using your business plan and helping you with your cash flow. These two things can be used as what's called a roadmap. Those two things can be used as a living document to hold you accountable, to help you manage yourself and your business. The cash flow template is probably one of my most favorite things that I get to work with when it comes to entrepreneurs starting their business. The cash flow template literally helps you get a basic 101 of financial literacy. What are your expenses? How much do you have to pay out? What does it cost to operate the service or product that you're selling? What type of income do you need to make to pay for your expenses, but also pay yourself a full-time salary? All of these things get worked out in your cash flow. So the business plan and the cash flow template are two things that most financial institutions need to even provide you with some type of capital or financing or loans. So when you have those two documents, you're positioning yourself to go shopping so that you can try to get some capital to grow your business, start your business, and make a living doing what you love and loving what you do. And I think that's a better life lived. So you can go from concept to operation using these two documents. This slide here, I think is really exciting. This slide right now is one of those workshops that we're kind of indigenizing to be able to unroll and mobilize to give access for our Indigenous people. I'm starting off in the Atlantic region, and then I'll be working with my team, Noah, to bring it to Saskatchewan and Manitoba. But these 4 stages are pretty much the best way that you can figure out, like, where are you at on your entrepreneurial journey. So for example, if you have questions like, I have this idea, but I don't know where to start. I have this idea and I don't know where to go to get some money for it. You're usually, if that's the case, you're probably in the idea and development stage. The important things about those two phases is that vision that you get to start a business, we believe as Indigenous people, I believe anyways, comes from Creator. So how do you take that vision or that idea and manifest it into reality? Because if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So taking that vision, write it down, map it out, manifest those thoughts and put it into a tangible process. And so when you're able to do that, you can then start to go into the development stage. What is it going to take to get this business idea? What type of network do you need to tap into? What type of resources do you need to develop that product or idea or service? That's the development phase. And once you've distinguished that, you can then unroll it, launch it, see if you can get some clients. What has been their engagement? What has been their feedback? How viable, how feasible is it? And once you've determined that, now you have a proof of concept. Now you've gone from vision to development to proof of concept. Hey, Futurpreneur, here's my business idea that I've already started. I've tried it out. Here's the feedback. Here's what I need in order to grow. I'm looking for up to $60,000 to help me scale and get into that pre-launch phase where we help you with your business plan, your cash flow, and help you launch your business. So that is kind of what that startup timeline is really talking about. To go from vision to launch, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. But don't worry, because we are here to help.
Awesome, thanks. Did I unmute myself?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks, Justin.
Of course.
And I want you all to know, and you all, like, that we're here to help, obviously, and entrepreneurs should go to as many places as possible for support. And I'll show what I mean when I highlight some of the real rock stars that we've been part of their success story. But they reached out and got support from lots of other organizations as well. And that's an important mindset to have, that if one organization is giving you support, that doesn't mean that you can't go to other organizations too. Like, you should shop around, you should see what makes the most sense for you and your particular entrepreneurial project and business. So as Justin has talked about in the last few minutes, the majority of our supports and certainly our financing, our mentorship, our one-on-one coaching and training focuses on early stage entrepreneurs, either really early, who really need support kind of fine-tuning that idea. But then other people come to us with business plans, with cash flows, and they really need the money. They're more at the right end of the continuum, and that working capital need is key. This next slide, I just want to illustrate, we do some things for entrepreneurs that are ready to grow. This is our main offering, we call the Growth Accelerator. We are just launching the one for this year. I think it's either just launched or just in the next week or so. Normally it's an in-person event, but basically what it is, it's for entrepreneurs that we've supported. So they've received a startup loan from us and a mentor match. They've been in business for at least 2 years and they are really on a fast growth path and they need some help managing that growth, advice, like in terms of, you know, if they're looking at international markets or if they're looking at, you know, if it's they're looking at doing you know, merging with another organization, like big idea stuff that happens when you're growing really quickly. Often this is, if people can't manage their growth well, that is a time that businesses fail. So we provide this, it's an application process that people apply to participate in. And I just wanted to flag that as well. And this is an initiative this year. We've been doing it the last several years in partnership with Spin Master, which is an established toy company. And then this year we're also Van City Community Investment Bank is one of our partners. So here I'm going to give it back to Justin to talk a little bit about this particular entrepreneur. We have a few more entrepreneurs just to highlight that we've supported recently, and then we'll have time for questions.
So this is actually a perfect example of what Joanne was emphasizing from that last slide, that sometimes we have entrepreneurs that are really high end. So keep in mind that the idea of entrepreneurship is a spectrum. It's not one size fits all, it's a complete spectrum. Some are at the high end, like Crew Barbershop from Niverville, Manitoba. The really cool thing about them is they already knew what their business plan was. They've already been kind of operating to a degree, and they're looking for some capital to kind of get them to scale and grow their business. So when they reached out, this is pretty much like the ideal scenario for us, is they come very well motivated. They already have a nice, concise, clear, thought out business plan. They've obviously done the work here. When they shared it with me, I got really excited because for those who know a little bit of CFL, one of their clients was Andrew Harris, CFL, you know, Grey Cup champion. I grew up with him when in my days in Winnipeg, so we know each other fairly well. But that was one of their clients. So to see that caliber of client within their business plan really helps increase their viability. That's what we mean by viability. So Crew Barbershop came through, sent us this really polished business plan. We're able to help them a little bit with their cash flow template. From there, they applied, they got dispersed, now they're financed, and now they're at that stage to really help them scale and grow. So Crew Barbershop is one of those entrepreneurial stories that is on the high end of the spectrum, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And they're also an example of how we are collaborating with our AFI partnerships in Manitoba. So we were able to get them going, get their first piece of working capital because they needed some money right away to do some leasehold improvements, whatnot, I think. But they needed some additional capital. So they're hopefully going to be able to work with First Peoples on getting the follow-on financing that they need. So really exciting opportunity there. And then here, I wanted to highlight one from Saskatchewan, who we've supported. Also she also was able to get support from the Métis AFI Clarence Campo Development Fund based in Saskatchewan. Kiara started her Twin Feather shop, completely online retail. And for her, like, this is an example of, it was really sort of cathartic for her to start this business based on her own personal journey and her own, like, as she says, this is right from her website, the manifestation of her own healing journey and alignment with spirituality and community. And I wanted to just highlight this slide about Kiera, because this is another, in terms of Futurepreneur and how we really try our best to highlight and showcase our entrepreneurs that we support. So as part of their communications, because marketing and communications can be expensive. So if you can get any opportunities for free is always good for any entrepreneur. So this is an example of a collaborator we have here in Vancouver, Startup Vancouver, which is a chapter of a national network of Startup Canada. I encourage all of you to check them out online. They're a networking, or basically an entrepreneur networking type of organization, and they put on events everywhere across the country. Colin Weston, the fellow on the right here, he approached me 2 years ago, just because he knew I'd done work with Indigenous entrepreneurs in BC, particularly in Northern BC, and he wanted to have an event focused on celebrating the stories from Indigenous entrepreneurs. It hadn't been done yet. And so I'm like, you bet, let's figure it out. So we did the first one in 2019, and Nicole McLaren, who's hails from the interior, from Kamloops area in BC, she was one of the panelists on the first one we did, and then she co-hosted the second one. Her business is great. It's and I think she was a side hustle. She got the side hustle program from us in terms of startup financing. She kept her job. And it's a subscription service of Indigenous literature. And it's both, I think you can customize, it's a mailbox box I think you can get monthly, and it can be focused on education, children, nonfiction, fiction. So really great idea. And Lucy Sager is another entrepreneur we supported in BC, All Nations Driving Academy, another really compelling business model to bring driving schools to First Nations and basically help them. Her business is to help First Nations develop, establish their own driving schools. And this is a big issue in Northern BC, where a lot of the jobs that are coming up around resource development, economy jobs, you know, that's one of the first requirements, that you have to have a driver's license as a minimum requirement. There's Kiera. Kiera had literally just, we did this, when was it? Yeah, November of last year. Literally, I think her loan and mentor match had just been completed. I called her up and see if she'd be interested in talking about her story, and she was, which was great. And just Chief Cody and Anita, other fabulous entrepreneurs, not that we have directly supported, but that our partners have. And then David at the end, he's another Futurepreneur supported entrepreneur from Alberta. So, and it was a really great evening. They all got the mic for about 10 minutes to just tell their story. People could ask questions. So these are the kinds of engagements that we like to do to support our entrepreneurs and raise awareness about the types of businesses that they're launching. And some of you, I'm sure, are very aware of the next two entrepreneurs I'm going to highlight. Devin Fiddler. She is one of the amazing entrepreneurs that's being featured in our role model campaign that we've developed in partnership with NACA. And I just wanted to show that you can see just by all that she got herself involved with, and that she did when she was launching her business. It wasn't just Futurepreneur, it was BDC, it was the Aboriginal Youth Challenge, it was the Young Arts Entrepreneur Grant, and she also did a Kickstarter campaign. She had a lot of hustle, and she wanted to grow and had a big vision for her business. So very exciting to be working with her. And then also, I'm sure you all know Kendall Netmaker. and his story, which is very compelling. And we helped him in the very beginning when he was just starting his kiosk in the mall in Saskatoon with Nietzsche gear. And as he's moved, you know, I don't know if he still has a retail store. I can't remember, but I know he's doing a lot of his merch through existing retailers as Nietzsche gear. He also founded the Kendall Netmaker Academy. And just a note on that, we have a partnership with Kendall right now for 20 young Indigenous people that are either very early stage or just launching their businesses to get further support from Kendall in his coaching cohorts. So it's really, for us, we also try our best to hire the entrepreneurs and to buy from their businesses, buy their products and services as much as we can to support them in their entrepreneurial endeavors. I know there was one other one, if you did want to mention her at all, Justin, the one here.
Yeah, I could do it in short. I know our time is already keeping us, but this is another entrepreneur that I've worked with directly, who is more on the opposite side of the spectrum. And you know, she needed a lot of more support, a lot more guidance. It took a little bit more effort to make sure that you fully understand what she was trying to do and accomplish. And so we have the patience for that. And I think it's worth paying homage to Joanne for hiring an Indigenous team made up of Indigenous people who get it. We understand the barriers, we understand the challenges, we understand the history. So we understand that, so that it allows us to have that patience necessary and the passion to encourage you to start your business. So Asha, you know, has her own life story that's quite compelling, but she's a certified divorce coach. And, you know, she is now being able to launch her business, take that capital, scale and grow it to a degree. And she's now completely tapped in with Kendall Netmaker. She was one of the people we were able to support to get into that program. And now she's taking full advantage of that support. And now she's growing even as an individual. And so she's able to scale and grow as a human, but also as a business, which is really inspiring. So that's just another entrepreneur we've worked with on a different side of the spectrum.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. And yeah, and again, this David, I mentioned him, he was on the panel, and this gal here, this is someone who Sami, our colleague, worked with. She's based out of Terrace, BC. Came to us, you know, came to Sami with just an idea and was super scared, didn't know what to do. And Sami coached her through it, coached her through accessing our resources and launching her business. And so just, she's super proud of herself, and we're really proud of her as well. And she's off to a great start. So that is it for our formal presentation. Now, thank you. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'd love to hear, we'd all love to hear from any of you.
Well, wow, Joanne, that was amazing. I'm blown away. I don't even know what to say. I'm actually speechless, because I think, like, for me, seeing those success stories that you highlighted is so incredible. And if you attendees, if you have questions, write them in the chat right now, because now is your time to ask how you can get involved with Futurpreneur, or encourage people from your communities or your businesses to get involved too. But while you're doing that, I just want to really highlight how amazing that presentation was. I was sitting here and I'm like on my couch, and I'm just like in awe the whole time, because I'm like, I only got a small glimpse of what Futurpreneur does when I was first learned about them. And now seeing this, I see that it's so much more, and it's beginning to end. And for so many people, like maybe they don't know about these resources, and it's amazing that you're putting it out there and really inspiring people. So I know that myself as a young adult, I'm very, very inspired by this, and I hope that I can also pass along your message to other Indigenous entrepreneurs, and hopefully get them going in this field. But I'll pass it on to Michelle.
Yeah, thanks, Aubrey. I hope to see some of your ideas up there, girl. I think it's amazing when community supports community. And that's really what you're doing. You're really assisting, supporting, encouraging, inspiring. You're stirring the fire in our young people. And so I just salute you for what you and your organization is doing. It's so necessary because our young people, they have some amazing ideas. They have passion, they have fire. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not wearing something from a young Indigenous entrepreneur. So today it's the beaded bling, the hoops. So our people, our young people are so gifted. So thank you for sharing this amazing resource. I know that they had, so Justin, Joanne, and Noah, they had put their contact information in the chat box. So if you feel like you want to explore this conversation or you have questions, please feel free to reach out. Feel free also to look, to be intentional, to look into your circle, into your community, and pull on those young people, draw them out, encourage them, support them, because sometimes that's what our young people need, is just that little push in the right direction. So just be really intentional. You know, we're about looking out for one another. We're about lifting up our young people because they got gifts. They are the, you know, the future leaders of our country, of our nations, of our families. So any questions? We have maybe 2 minutes left. So we'd love to hear if there's any questions or comments. And if you're not cool with unmuting yourself, feel free to use that chat box, but also lend your voice if you're cool with talking. Don't forget to fill out that evaluation. $400 Visa gift card, and there's 2 of them up for grabs. I always have to, I'm always blown away at that. So please fill out those evaluations. All right.
Hi,
Just have just a real quick. So Joanne, so would it be Noah that I'd be working with?
Yeah, I just saw you joined later. Yes. So
Yeah, I was kind of late coming in, but
yeah, no, so this is Cree from Steve, and we have a relationship with them. And yes, it would be Noah, and he just started this week. So I was just,
Okay.
I'll do the formal, well, you can, I'll do the email intro after we get off, just so you have
Okay.
all his info. But yes.
okay,
Thanks.
all right.
Thanks, Cree.
Very nice to meet you. Looking forward to talking and getting a chance to know you a little bit better.
Awesome. A connection already made. Love it. Love it. All right. So we're going to end our day. Thank you so much for pressing pause in your world to come listen, to come take in the knowledge, to be inspired. We're honored that you've joined us today. Next week, we have a webinar. It's an innovation for defense excellence and security. The week after that is Indigenous Development and Prosperity. I believe Kendall Netmaker is one of those amazing speakers. So feel free, you're welcome to join us. We're always so honored. So thank you so much, everyone. I just want to give a shout out to Creator, a gift of another day that we got to learn, we got to be inspired. Maybe you take a moment, step outside, just make that connection to the land, to this world that's around us. Just give some thanks, give some gratitude for the gifts that are in your life. So have a great day, be well, walk in goodness and wellness, and we'll see you again. Peace.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
Bye,
joining.
everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.